And so welcome to my Tai Chi Chat. Yes, technology, great, isn't it? So, for those of you that are old enough to remember, are you sitting comfortably?
Yes.
Begin. I was just checking before, and I've got a few books on Tai Chi. I think about 70. I'm not sure exactly how many, but about 70 books on Tai Chi. There might be a few more scattered around. My library is kind of a bit diverse. And I got a couple of books because there were a couple of things that I thought I would read to you. And then I've got some questions. Well, yeah, sort of a long question from Doris, and we'll look at that. This book is called Kung Fu and Tai Chi, Classical Karate and Classical Exercises, step-by-step instructions with over 350 photos by a gentleman whose name is Bruce Tegner. Bruce Tegner was really one of the first Westerners who wrote about martial arts in a sort of a prolific way. I mean, I don't know if this lists, no, it lists a few of his books at the front, but he really wrote quite a lot of books. I think I've probably got, I don't know, 7 or 8 of his books on all sorts of different martial arts. But something he wrote about Tai Chi, I'm going to kind of not read all of it. I'm going to read bits, but I thought it might be interesting. Tai Chi is a splendid exercise. All the movements of Tai Chi are natural to the human body and enhance the normal functions of the human body. Unlike classical yoga, Tai Chi does not force the limbs, pardon me, into grotesque and unnatural postures. In Tai Chi, all bending is forward, which is natural for human anatomy and good for the human spine. He also says, the movements of Tai Chi involve the whole body from head to feet. Coordination is enhanced through the rhythmic flowing style of the routine. Balance and body gestures, oh, my apologies, are improved. Something else he says a bit further down. Coordination of eye-limb activity involves a degree of mental concentration which is stimulating and relaxing. Flexibility, grace, and lightness of movement and emotional refreshment can result from earnest and diligent practice of Tai Chi, which I thought was quite good. He also actually goes on to talk about how there are some people that make extraordinary claims for Tai Chi, and that's a bad thing. And I think it's actually, actually I will read it because there was something I saw online which I'll tie it in with. He says, Tai Chi is a valuable exercise. As for the therapeutic claims made for Tai Chi, they are misleading. Tai Chi promoters claim that Tai Chi exercises will cure, and he goes on to talk about things. Tai Chi is a good exercise, and it deserves to be rescued from the bad reputation of cure-all quackery. And that resonated with me because I read that this morning, but earlier this morning I had, how do I put this? I had stopped myself from commenting because on a forum somebody was promoting Qigong, and the phrase they used was something like practice Qigong for the prevention, cure and rehabilitation of COVID-19. And I thought, prevention, okay-ish. In other words, practicing Tai Chi, practicing Qigong will improve your health a little bit. The relaxation in particular will reduce stress, which in turn means that the immune system will act more effectively. But, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other there. Curing, I'm sorry, no, there is no evidence as far as I can see that would imply that it has curative properties. And I know there have been reports of people in China doing Qigong, but, you know, you don't see in Chinese hospitals them throwing the medicine out and just doing Qigong. So I thought that was a dangerous thing to say. On the other hand, the thing about, you know, coming out of it and rehabilitation, then yes, that absolutely, any kind of illness that you are coming out of, as long as you are fit enough to practice, then it's going to be beneficial. So there was that. And then here's another book. Oh, that book was that book was written, especially the bit about the, because of the bit about the cure. That book was first written in 1968, maybe even before that, because it doesn't say exactly. This book is called Tai Chi for Health, the 24 Simplified Forms. That's the short Yang form that I teach. And the thing that I mean, there's many things that they say, some of which I agree with, some of which I think are a bit over egging the pudding. But the thing that I thought was interesting, to gain the full benefit of Tai Chi, you should consider Tai Chi a way of life, which does not mean you have to practice Tai Chi 24 hours a day. It's good news, isn't it? But to develop a habit of thinking and doing it regularly. Tai Chi should Tai Chi should become a habit of life by which your physical body is properly aligned while sitting, reading, driving, eating, and even watching TV. Thus, you weave Tai Chi into your daily life, which I thought was nice. I just want to go back and check the Facebook feed, see if it is. Oh, yes, it is working, because I can see myself on Facebook holding, although Facebook is 20 seconds behind. However, I suspect for future things where I also want to do Facebook Live, I'll probably do it the way I was doing it last week with a separate camera, because then we won't have that delay. Now, I'm kind of waiting for Doris. Doris, because I have a question from Doris, and obviously Doris was there. She will get the benefit. Let us hope that Doris is watching it on Facebook. If not, there will be a recording. Doris's question, three-part question. A question came about because we were practicing the Heaven and Earth Qigong the other day. I happened to mention this thing about curling the toes to grip the ground when you practice. And her question was, what may be the benefit of gripping one's toes during Heaven and Earth? And what is the meaning benefit of each of the positions in Heaven and Earth? And what is the tradition of this exercise? I'll deal with the easy one first. The tradition of the Heaven and Earth Qigong is, haven't got a clue. Haven't got a clue. I don't know if I was taught it or I made it up from components that I was taught, or if I was going to be, and I do apologize to Su Peng because of your heritage and ethnicity, Su Peng, but you know, it could be that the Chinese, what's the goddess? Queen?
Guan Yin.
Kuan Yin. Yeah, you see, if I was going to do and this is, bless them, how Chinese martial artists have done it for many, many centuries, they go, well, I was asleep, or I was meditating. And the goddess came to me and gave me, and I mean, genuinely, you can read things where martial artists say, oh yeah, you know, it was divine inspiration. But as far as the tradition of the heaven and earth Qigong that I teach, I honestly don't remember where it came from. Components, definitely, you know, various of the shapes, yeah, I kind of think, oh yeah, he taught me that, or he taught me that. But whether it was taught to me as a whole thing, or whether it's composite, I don't actually remember. Next question. What is, oh, in reverse order, what is the meaning, benefit, meaning or and benefit, I suppose she means, of each of the positions of heaven and earth? There's a couple of ways of looking at Qigong. And it is not for me to say that this is right and this is wrong. All I can do is say, this is my interpretation, but your interpretation may be different. One possibility of Qigong is, if you like, the classical viewpoint, is there are things in the body, sorry, it's a thing called Qi, a life force, an energy that not only circulates around the body, but which you can, through exercise and intent, control and do things that will improve that flow of energy or do things that will impair it. There are also meridians, pathways throughout the body, specific pathways through which this energy passes. And so if you believe in, and that's where acupuncture comes from. Acupuncture stimulates or restricts the movement of qi through the meridians of the body. Or doesn't if you don't believe in qi, but let's sort of move on to that in a minute. So assuming that you go with the Chinese, classical Chinese description, what you then have is the different positions and or in other forms of Qigong that we teach, different movements stimulate different meridians. So you do this exercise and it helps the heart meridian, and you do this exercise and it's blah, 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 the kidney meridian, and you do, yeah, and that's a viewpoint. It's not what I really believe in. I'm not a great fan of meridians. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I think the way they exist is not exactly how they exist in the classical Chinese literature. I think it's much more likely to be a more subtle can't think of the word, but basically, no, I won't get into it. It's going to do my brain in if I try and articulate what I think there. The Western viewpoint, which I subscribe to, is that Qigong is either standing still, as you do predominantly in the heaven and earth, or it is moving like we do, let's say, in the Shiba Shu exercises. And in the case of moving exercises, it is that gentle, rhythmic, relaxed, intentional movement that has a biologically beneficial effect or a health effect. When you come to the standing positions, the classic standing position is the Zhangzhong, standing like a tree, hugging a tree position. That is definitely good for you. If you just stand for 15 or 20 minutes, it will make your legs stronger. It will help your posture. It will improve your breathing if you relax and breathe deeply. It will improve your mental focus, because it's difficult. Standing for 15 or 20 minutes in Zhangzhong is hard work. The reason for the heaven and earth Qigong is to avoid people who are new to Zhangzhong having to stay in one position for an extended period of time. The fact that there are multiple positions means that even if you start to get physically tired, you are aware that a change is coming. So, you know, if you were the hands up position and you've been there for a minute or 2 minutes and your legs feel weak and your arms feel weak, there's a subtext going on the brain, which is sort of going, this too shall pass. So you know you're going to be going and you're going to be changing. And so you can see where you are. So from a psychological point of view, it makes standing in a relatively static, relaxed position an easier exercise than if you were just standing in any one of those postures. So I think that's kind of covers that. The gripping of the toes. Now, you have heard me say the great sin that no Tai Chi teacher should ever mention, which is that I don't really believe in Qi, not as a movable, energy, forcey thing. I'll tell you something else. There's lots of things I don't believe in. I don't believe the Earth is flat. I believe the Earth is basically a sphere. But I'll tell you something. I've never actually been up in space myself, so I don't know that the Earth is not flat. I will argue to the death, and I mean, I will be really rude to people that are flat earthers. You know, it's a bit like if you knock on my door and try and sell me your religion, or if you knock on my door and try and convince me to be a vegan. I will give you both barrels, metaphysically speaking. But where Qi is concerned, although I do not believe in it, I have to be aware of the fact that a lot of people do believe in it, and there are hundreds, if not several thousand years of experience of using Qi. So going back to acupuncture points, there are acupuncture points all over the body. There are in particular acupuncture points in the center of the palms that are quite important, which are called, if I remember, the Lao Gung point, and I'm terrible with Chinese acupuncture point names. And wow. I've totally forgotten, but if that was the foot, sort of round about there on the foot, is a major acupuncture point.
Governing six.
Sorry?
Governing six.
Yeah, I can't remember what the Chinese name for it is, though. It's not the Bahui point. Anyway, it's got a name. It's got a name that I know somewhere in here. It's just not coming out. When you curve your feet ever so slightly, the wisdom is that you activate that point, and that lets energy flow up from the earth into your body. As I say, I don't believe that, but I have been taught that by multiple people, and it might be true. And this for me is the clincher, and if you are standing and you bend your toes ever so slightly, nothing bad happens. If you bent your toes slightly and your heart stopped beating, I wouldn't suggest that you do it. It would seem to be contraindicated. But if by bending your toes, it does make the magical fairy dust come up into my body, brilliant! And I should explain my attitude towards Qi, and some of you may know this. My attitude towards Qi is the same as my attitude towards oxygen, or air, if you like. I have no evidence at a personal level. I have not proven that there is oxygen in the air, and the oxygen in the air is what I need to breathe. I haven't got the science to prove that.
Didn't you do it at school?
No, not in any way that identifies it and proves it to me. I mean, I couldn't now go and prove oxygen, that it exists and that I need it in order to breathe. I mean, I suppose if I had a big room and I had a method for taking the oxygen out of the room, then I could find that not having oxygen, then I would have to identify oxygen. I'd have to do a lot of things. Now, the point is that in order to breathe, I do not need to believe in oxygen. If it exists and if it is beneficial, it helps me. It is there. Great.
So
Gravity.
what happens when
Sorry?
you breathe? What happens when you breathe?
No idea. No, I've read books on it, right? So I have intellectual understanding of it, but I've never run experiments on people. I've never done an autopsy. There's lots of things that you would actually need to have done in order to know that you have proven it, right? So with Qi, just like I take oxygen and air on belief, I am happy that it may be for some people that Qi does. Oh, sorry, maybe for me. I don't believe in it, but if I don't believe in it, that doesn't matter. If Qi does exist, and if when I bend my toes, energy is flying into my body, making me, as Ken Dodd used to say, or may still say, I can't even remember if he's alive, dead, or waiting. Ken Dodd said, full of plumptiousness, missus. So if it exists, then bending the toes is beneficial. If it doesn't exist, then bending the toes does no harm at all. If when you're doing the Qigong exercises, Qi exists, then that is beneficial. If Qi does not exist, it doesn't matter because the exercises are still beneficial in their own right. I hope that makes some kind of sense. Right, Doris isn't here to give me any comeback on her questions. I hope she's watching on Facebook or something.
I'm there. I'm just blue.
Oh, you're just blue, are you? Oh, that's lovely. Okay, that's yes, that's
just feeling blue today.
Oh, very nice. I'm actually having a conversation with a disembodied. I'm being spoken to directly by one of those classic Tai Chi gods.
Blue movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There is that as well. I thought you'd think of that. Are there any questions from any of you?
And I wonder how many books have you written on Tai Chi?
1.5. One. I've published 2. One is a very short book, and it is very short, and that just elucidates the benefits of Tai Chi. And I published it as a book, but I also put it on a website that people can go to and download it for free if they want to. And it's just called The Benefits of Tai Chi. My main book on Tai Chi is The Metamorphosis of Tai Chi, and that is a book. Have you not seen it then?
I saw one on, because I went to your publishing site, and I saw one on, I think, Amazon.
Yeah, they're both on Amazon.
But I just
hold on a minute. I can get one of them. Hold on a minute. Because one of them exists as a printed book.
Tai Chi Talk.
I am back. That's.
Oh yeah, that was the one I saw.
That's the Metamorphosis of Tai Chi, and that is, it's a book. It's fairly short. It's only 100. Yeah, just over 100 pages. 109 pages. 109. Damn! If I'd thought about it. Damn. If I ever republish this book, I'm going to remove one page because 108 pages would be an auspicious number, and there are 108 move Tai Chi forms. Damn, I should have thought of doing. I could have faked the page numbering. But yeah, that's that's kind of a book on all my thoughts on various aspects of Tai Chi, and it probably somewhere in there mentions Qi and how I have mixed views about the subject. But the problem is with books, I don't know if anybody either here or on Facebook has ever come across, there is a religion or a subset of Islam, I think, the Sufi religion, or the Sufi, yeah. And Sufis have a history of teaching through stories. And they have a wise man, or a fool, depending on how the story goes. A gentleman called Mullah Nasruddin, and gentleman some many years ago published a couple of books. One was called, I think, The Exploits of the Incomparable Mullah Nasruddin, and there was another one or two books, and I have them somewhere. And it's short stories. And some of them are just kind of really cute, like the day that the Mullah is a sort of religious figure, prescription, I guess. And there's one day outside his house spreading breadcrumbs around, and a friend walks by and says, "Why are you spreading breadcrumbs around?" And the Mullah says, "To keep the tigers away." And the friend says, "There are no tigers around here." And the Mullah says, "Effective, isn't it?" Now, another one of his, what comes back to the books. The Mullah is in the tea house, and some people are gathered around, and they're listening to somebody talk about, I don't know, something, ethics, religion, something, whatever. And every so often, this person refers to his book, and he says, "And this is in my book." The next day, or a couple of days afterwards, the Mullah goes into the tea house, and he says, "Oh, would anybody here like to buy a house? I've built a house. Would you like to buy it?" And they say, "We didn't know you could build, and what kind of house is it?" And the Mullah gets angry, and he picks up a brick that he's got with him, and he throws the brick on the table, and he says, "Here is the brick that I used to build the house." And the point of the story fundamentally is, whether or not you've written a book doesn't mean you know shit. And not that book, but the first book I ever wrote, which was in about 2003, which is, in those days I used to do corporate training on things like management of aggression, dealing with abusive phone calls for call centers and things. And I wrote a book called How to Deal with Verbal Aggression. And the reason I wrote that book, or no, not the reason I wrote it because it fitted in with what I was teaching. But the thing that caused me to think of writing it was I was over in America, and I was staying with a friend, and this friend has written a number of books. And I realized, with all due respect to my friend, that he was getting far more mileage, I guess, out of the fact that it was to do with what he was teaching. He was getting far more mileage out of what he was teaching because he'd written a book. And it's, it's why am I wearing my posh Tai Chi jacket? It's the same thing. There are certain things we do that lend credibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. There's my book. But books are useful, I think, to give you insight into what's, especially factual books, they give you insight into what somebody, hopefully, assuming that the writer is honest, because obviously I run a publishing company and I get to see a lot of manuscripts, and not all of them are honest. But if the writer is being honest, then it gives you an insight into their beliefs. Whether or not the beliefs are right or wrong, obviously, you have to decide. And that's why when I'm teaching, I'm always trying to not teach my beliefs. I'm trying to teach my opinion, and my understanding, but I'm always trying to say, I believe this, I don't believe that, I believe that, I think that. Make your own mind up. Is that of any use?
Yes.
Any more questions from any? Doris, blue
No,
leg.
I'm fine. I had my questions and I had my answers.
She's sitting there. This is why we can't see her face, because she's actually sitting there like.
Of course I am.
Yeah. I'm just going to go to Facebook. I don't think there are any. No, there don't appear to be any questions on Facebook. Okay, so that's fine. If there are no more questions, my apologies to anyone that didn't make it here because I sent out the wrong time. I get confused what day it is, what the time.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's very confusing. On the other hand, the benefit of this is that Lee has been busy repairing the roof. My wife Lee, for Facebook people, my wife Lee has been busy repairing the roof of the garden shed. I have not been involved with it. Hi, Ken.
It says 2 o'clock and then means 3 o'clock and 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
I know, I'm sorry. But there will be a recording. I will put a recording up and I will be much more careful in future with the times that I send out. I think I do have to go to an automated system. The problem at the moment is the system that announces live meetings is only semi-automated. So like the message I sent out last night, which I think was probably the wrong one, I sent it out. What I need is one that I've preset, so it just goes out, and then hopefully we won't have these mistakes. But the recording will be on Facebook. Well, it is on Facebook now, and it will be there as soon as I stop. And I will, in a few days' time, put this recording up on the website. So my apologies. But since you're here, Ken, and I'm all right. I'm here. Doris is here. Lynn's here. Sue Peng's here. Have you any questions for today?
No.
Oh, well. That was a bit of a letdown, really, wasn't it? After
No. No.
Lovely. Anyway, okay, tonight.
One for Christmas or what?
Yeah. Oh, don't mention Christmas. Oh, my eldest grandson, right, who stole all my Christmas pudding a year or so ago, or half a year ago, whenever it was. We were talking about Christmas a couple of days ago and saying, you know, have we got enough Christmas pudding for this year to feed both me and him? And I've got to say, I know there is a Christmas pudding in the cupboard, and I might actually have a pre-Christmas Christmas pudding over the next few days, but don't say that. Don't tell anybody that, because I'm trying to watch my weight, and obviously a whole Christmas. I mean, I'm not talking about one of those poxy little individual Christmas puddings. We don't buy them. I'm talking about, you know, a 4-person Christmas pudding, which is, yeah, stupid 4-person. It's like one person and a big grin on your face. Anyway, I hope to see you all tonight.
Yeah.
Will do.
And have a lovely rest of the day. Oh, yes, Ken.
Do I have one question? When I'm training, is it better to train barefooted or with trainers? Do I get more benefit from training without shoes, basically?
I'm just trying to think back over the years. Over the years, the majority of places that I've trained have been with shoes, but a number of places I have trained and a number of teachers I've trained with have recommended bare feet. Currently, well, not currently, but pre-lockdown, my attitude was students can train in bare feet, but because we are in third-party premises, there is obviously an additional risk because you don't know what's on the floor. You don't know if it's dirty. I'm again, this is personal bias. Many years ago, I went away for what was meant to be, I think, a week of training, and it was in a caravan by myself, and it was like Butlins kind of thing, you know, one of those kind of camps that had been rented out by martial arts people. And we were training in their dance cum bar, dance hall cum bar, where there was a big carpeted area and a big wooden floor. And this is long before smoking bans and what have you. And the first couple of days of training, I would come out of training, and I was training in bare feet, and my feet would literally be black, because in those days everybody smoked and the smoke was in the carpet, and you walked on the carpet and your feet got black, and people dropped beer and what have you on the floor, and it was just bleh. And I didn't like that, but I could kind of deal with it. But on about the third day into this week, couple of things happened to make me think that I wasn't getting the quality of teaching that I really wanted. And then on this floor, I stepped on a piece of glass. And so not only were my feet black, but they were black and bleeding. And obviously I went off and washed my feet off. And I thought to myself, I did not come here to get blood poisoning. I came here to learn martial arts. So I actually cut short the week's training and went home. And I guess, I mean, it's interesting that it's come from the back of the memory to the front of my memory, because that would be well over 20 years ago. But I suspect it's always in there. And so for me, training in bare feet, there is a health and safety issue. And as a teacher, obviously, when I'm using third-party halls, there's a health and safety issue. For you, when you're practicing at home, or in particular, if you're practicing in the garden or anywhere on grass, there is definitely something. There is a niceness. It's a bit like walking on the beach, walking on grass. There is a certain
sense.
Yeah, maybe a primal thing almost that it just adds the feeling. And also obviously one of the things with not just Tai Chi, but it obviously applies to Tai Chi. One of the things to Tai Chi, I mean, I know when I'm out in the garden and I'm practicing, I am normally, even, you know, and I don't normally wear my hearing aid, but I'm normally acutely aware of all the sounds around me, the insect noises, the bird noises. I mean, so much so that about a week and a bit ago, I went out into the garden mid-afternoon, and there was no, I mean, I could hear neighbours talking a couple of doors down, but there was no noise at all. There were no insects in the garden. There were no birds. And it was like, this is odd. And it really did. There wasn't that sense of connection with nature. So if for any individual, this, by the way, let's not take this to the final outcome. I do not want people being arrested for practicing Tai Chi in the complete nude in the middle of Waitrose, and their excuse was, well, Robert said it would put us more in touch.
I've got a camera on my phone.
Yeah, why not? Why not? But yeah, I think it's, yes, Supeng.
I have flat feet, and for me, I definitely need footwear, you know, wherever it is. I don't, and I'm mindful of that gripping of the toes, and I personally feel it benefits me. So I will not do it barefooted. I would not do Tai Chi barefooted.
Lynn, you were going to say?
Do the majority of people in Asia do it barefoot?
I see some, I don't know. I'm not, I can't.
I don't think so. I'm just trying to think. I mean, I'm thinking a few years ago, I was at a class in Shanghai. Were we barefoot? I don't think we were barefoot in Shanghai. Not barefoot outdoors. Certainly when I learnt in Malaysia, in Seremban, when I trained in Singapore, when I trained in Guangzhou in China, in none of those places was it barefoot. But that's not to say, I mean, hold on, I'm going to take my slipper off. There we go. That's what I've been wearing to train in, and I think I mentioned it to some people. They're actually Cressy wet shoes. They're designed for, you know, yachting or scuba diving, anything where your feet can get wet. And they're just a thin, flat rubber sole and a nice, quite supportive shoe. And I've been wearing those now for, well, it was before lockdown I started wearing them. Interestingly, Su Ping, I have slightly, well, no, I have sort of fallen arches, so flat feet. And sometimes it's quite painful, and that's why for many years my shoes have orthotic insoles. But actually, I find these are very comfortable and they don't cause problems. So I think it goes back to this idea that one of the things you want from your Tai Chi practice is to listen. You listen to your body. You pay attention. For instance, again, the shoes thing, my feet started hurting a couple of weeks ago. I thought, oh, I wonder if it's because I'm wearing these flat slippers and training a lot. So I went back to what I normally train in, which is my trainers with the orthotic insoles. And I used those for a couple of days and my foot seemed fine. And then I went back to these, and for a couple of weeks now of training, it's been fine. So I think if you do, and this applies to the Qigong, any of the practices. Let's say, for instance, you were going to do snake creeps down. The move snake creeps down. Do you take a low posture? Do you stretch the legs a lot? Do you take it gently? The point is, yes, you might want to improve your flexibility and you might want to be able to go lower and you might want to bend the legs more, but you should only do that if your body will allow it. My dodgy knee has been playing up the last few days. My Tai Chi practice has been very high. My ability to bend the legs is compromised at the moment. And what I want, and don't get me wrong, it'll be different for other people, but what I want from my Tai Chi is that conversation between my brain and my body, where my body goes, "Ooh, heck, this hurts a little bit." And my mind goes, "Ha, grasshopper, maybe don't do things that'll hurt you." Hi, Sandy. Did you get my message with the wrong time on it?
Yes.
I said some people are saying 3 o'clock, and I'm an idiot. But or of course, it could be that I am a wise Tai Chi master preparing a test for my students. Were they? Oh, that's one of the other things that's very important in martial arts in general and Tai Chi in particular.
Time.
You should be able to bullshit at absolutely world-class level. Any more questions? Sorry, Ken, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it's just that I thought maybe it would aid you feeling the movement barefooted. That sensation you get in the grass.
I think.
Or the carpet.
I think the answer is. Okay. The answer is maybe. For instance, my dear wife, when she was young and lived in, which was very young, and she lived in Malaysia, and she used to walk to school through secondary, used to walk barefoot through the forest. So when my feet had soles on them, I mean, the skin was leather like the soles of her feet, because she spent a lot of time walking on hard surfaces. And I mean, back in the day, I used to do some training on hard surfaces and running barefoot on the roads. It did make the soles of my feet tougher. As I'm older, I've done less of that kind of training, a lot less. My skin has got thinner, or rather, as you get older, you lose collagen, and the fat under the skin becomes thinner. So it's easier to tear the skin. In the winter, it's quite common for my knuckles to tear simply through the skin getting chapped. So for me, the idea of bare feet, there are some concerns for me. But if you are comfortable with it, B, are gaining benefit from it. And yes, if you find that it helps, especially when you move your feet, when you put the foot down, when your rear foot needs to turn, you're certainly going to get more tactile feedback, and it may make it easier to get the feet in the right positions until there comes a point in time where your feet just are in the right position. But yeah, if that was beneficial, absolutely do it. I mean, one of the nice things these days, I mean, you know, again, I'm showing my age. I can remember training, well, this is before we were married, so 40, 45 years ago, whatever it was. Just working out, yeah, nearly 45 years ago. I can remember training barefoot and going out for running when I lived in Banbury, running through the town with the Kung Fu people. It'd be part of the warm up. The instructor, right, we'll go out for a run, and you'd be running barefoot through Banbury. Back in those days, of course, you had a variety of things to watch out for in the roads, including large amounts of dog shit. Which, of course, these days you don't have so much. So if you are out in a park or on the street or anywhere, and you do want to practice your Tai Chi barefoot, I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect the health risks are a little less, so that's a good thing. But yeah, I mean, if Supeng, you've got a reason for not doing it barefoot, but for anybody where it's not a reason, where it's just you habitually do it barefoot or you habitually do it shoes on, and it's certainly worth trying the opposite. Sandy, any questions on Tai Chi?
Yes. I realized that when we having kind of like front stand, we push to our waist and then push it again, and then both hands was rolling back to our body and roll it out again. That position. Sometimes your toes up, just on the front leg, your toes up, but only the heel touching the ground. But sometimes you leave your toe firm to the ground and the heel.
Yes, you're quite right. The
move, important?
The move you're talking about is called Grass Swallow's Tail, and it comprises Pung and Lu and Ji, and then this is the bit that's called An. And it's on that move where sometimes you will see my toe come up before I push, and sometimes you won't. Yeah, from a health and fitness point of view, it doesn't really matter. If you keep your foot flat on the ground, you could argue that you are stretching the leg slightly more. So there may be a slight element of benefit in terms of stretching the ankle if you keep the foot flat on the floor. In terms of Tai Chi as a martial art, my understanding is that the raising of the toe is indicative. It's to remind you that there are two possibilities. As you've come back and your foot's come, front of your foot's come up, so your weight has transferred predominantly to your rear leg. So at that point, your rear leg is what is called full, has the weight in it. The front leg, the one where the toe's gone up, is empty. The empty foot is then at that point in time where it is in a position where if you wanted to, you could lift it and kick with it. So it's to remind you that that is a foot that you could kick with. So a lead leg snap kick in perhaps terms. The other thing, sorry, the camera's going berserk. Either I'm drunk or the camera's drunk. Hold on, let me just try and get it to focus. Let's just alter this. Maybe that'll do it. Yeah, that's better. I think what happens is the camera gets confused between my beautiful, good-looking face and the yin-yang sign behind me, and it hunts. So on one hand, you've got this thing of raising the toes to be indicative of the fact that you could kick off the empty leg. The other thing, it's bloody doing it again. Stop it, camera. People get drunk. Well, assuming you're not drunk already, I don't know. Sitting out in their garden, a couple of them. The other thing that it's indicative of is a trap. Tai Chi, the way I've been taught from a fighting point of view, there is a lot of traps of the leg and the foot. So you put you move into somebody that you're fighting, you stand on their foot, and you do that without thinking about it. You through practice, it is just something that will happen a lot of the time. It won't happen every time. It's not something you would kind of go, I'm going to tread on his foot, but you will just find that because of the way you've been taught to move, there will be a lot of times where you end up standing on somebody's foot. If you are standing on somebody's foot and you do that pushing move, which by the way isn't always a pushing move at all, it's very often a strike, but whether you strike them or you push them, if you can cause them to fall over, you may, if you're lucky, and if you're standing on their foot, cause their ankle to break. If somebody is attacking you and you push them over and they break their ankle, it improves your chances of walking away
Running away.
without them chasing after you because they're busy screaming their little heads off. So that's why you will see me often lift my toe, but sometimes leave it flat. It's the difference between the martial aspects of Tai Chi and the health aspects. Does that answer the question? Good. Any other questions?
What time tonight?
Can we have more Chinese names? Sorry.
Okay, I've got to be very careful what I say to Sandy in a minute, but I'll answer Ken first while my editing is trying to go on there, because most of the Chinese I know is swear words, right? So
Summer.
so 7 o'clock tonight for the Tai Chi training session. Chinese names. I mean, basically. My problem is I actually only know a relatively small number of the Chinese names. So, for instance, Gambien, which is single whip, Sao Shui Pipa, which is play the pipa, strum the loop. And the thing that always worries me is not being Chinese. I know you probably didn't realize that, but I'm not. Not being Chinese and not having Chinese as my native language. It's the old thing in any language. You know, you go in somewhere and you say good morning, how are you? And actually, what you've just said is, please, could I eat a tractor on toast? So I am a little bit worried. But what I will do, Sandy, I will try and use more Chinese, or at least what I will do is I will put on the membership site, we've got the names of the moves, I will try and add to that the names of the moves in Chinese. Certainly for the 24 move form, I know I have a printout, which I normally use, which has the English names, the Chinese names, and more importantly, Su Peng, do you read Chinese?
Not very much.
No, I know Sandy, you do. What we have is the Chinese characters as well.
No. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to challenge your Chinese, but if I can know the name of the move, like single whip, so I can imagine where is the force going to, and you know, it will bring me to the and I
Sorry, you're breaking up, Sandy. Say it again. It will bring you to
Chinese name. It will bring me to perform, to show the move like single whip. So I know, okay, it's like that. So like cloud hands. So I know it's, you know, it can help me, myself, to build the background of what I want to do, right? Like cloud hands. Of course, I will use hand instead of feet. So it helped me to have the background of the move that I am about to do. So I'm not trying to challenge your Chinese.
No, I didn't think you were. No, I didn't think it was in any way anything other than a straightforward question. I was just trying to think. The other thing I might do is, I was talking before about the number of Tai Chi books that I have. I might try and see on my website, not on the membership site, on my ordinary website, there is a small list of books. I think actually a good idea would be if I put a more comprehensive list of books on the membership site. That way, if there was something that was relevant, and I don't know if I've got a book that is particularly relevant in that domain, Sandy, but maybe I have. I mean, before I was reading from this book, and you see here, this is on the 24, and it says, grasp the peacock's tail. That's grasp the sparrow's tail, grasp the swallow's tail, grasp the whatever, is the largest in the 24 forms. Consists of the following 4 parts: ward off, roll back, press, and push. And although the author is, the 2 authors, Chen Zhao and Don Zhao. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation, Z-H-A-O. But interestingly, they don't give in this particular book the Chinese for it. But I have multiple books. I think before you came on, I was saying I have about 70 books on Tai Chi. I'm sure one or more of them will contain Chinese explanations. Maybe I can reference those for people. Or maybe I can find something online to point to. Or of course, do a little Google. Do a quick Google. Google Chinese googliness. Yeah, one way or another, we'll sort that out. That's a good question though, because apart from anything else, and despite my very Western mindset, I do think this is more sort of Doris, Ken, Lynn. It's more for you perhaps. I do think it is good to try and improve your understanding of the culture from which Tai Chi came to a degree. I have met people who are so enamored of the culture and so enamored of the history of Tai Chi that becomes perhaps more important than the actual practice of Tai Chi. And I can't see the point of that, because to me, the importance of the practice of Tai Chi is practicing Tai Chi. But yeah, I will have a think. Time, since we've overrun time amazingly anyway, one more question I will take, and then we will call it. A chance to shine, Doris. Oh, Ken, yes?
No, I was just saying I've had enough chuckle.
Okay, then. In that case, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you all tonight at 7. Bye.